I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring a gripping historical novel. It is called A Step to Glory, America in World War I. It's written by a fantastic author and one of my favorite guests. His name is Sidney Phelps Little. His epic story follows four college friends and the 149th Field Artillery as they navigate the brutal battlefields of France during World War I. Join us right now as we uncover the real battles, the use of early airplanes, and the human struggle behind this compelling narrative. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Sidney, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Well, it's good to be with you, and it's good to be able to talk about this story, which is a fantastic story and a gripping story as we go through and review World War I.
Absolutely. And as the generations get older, the history of World War I is, fading into oblivion in a way. I
Yes,
think
it is.
we need reminders of the great sacrifices that so many made during the epic battles of World War I. And your book does just that by following the college friends and their experiences. It's steeped in history, yet it's novelized, correct?
Yes, one of the things that I tried to do was the characters are sort of an amalgamation of different characters and their feelings. I felt that it would be important that the true feelings of people as they confronted what is a terrible war and a killing field, what the reactions were and how they felt. I had access to a number of letters and diaries written by those who were in the war. And so I tried to put it together. The characters are important in that they show the feelings of what they're going through as they watch these massive battles take place during the war.
Letters and diaries are wonderful resources for crafting a book like this. Tell us how you got hold of those.
Well, there were a number of research. I wrote the book because one, my father, I'm admitting my age, but my father was part of Battery F in World War I, and because of the use of gas by the enemy towards the American troops, we felt that there was a residual part of that gas that took him at an early age at 39. And I did not know him. So my purpose in writing the book was try to get to know him. We shared genetic likeness. And therefore, I tried to put myself into his shoes and into the shoes of others so I could get to know him. And as a result, I dove into much of the history books, reading as much history as I could, and trying to determine what this war was all about. As a result, some of the characters I created, one character was a professor at the University of Illinois. That's where this unit was formed originally. And he, prior to being called up himself into the war, he gave a dissertation to his students as to why the war was started and how it started, how the Archduke of Austria and his wife Sophie were killed by a Serbian rebel. And it slowly evolved into a war. Germany against France, Britain, and Russia, Germany and Austria and Turkey. It was a true world war.
Yeah.
So I felt that America did not enter that war until 1917. If you know your history, you will know that Woodrow Wilson was president, and he was elected a second time. And his slogan during that second election was, "He kept us out of war." But what happened was that the Germans were sinking merchant ships and not taking care of picking up the survivors of those sinkings. And it resulted in many Americans dying. So he declared war. And as a result, the war started with America being involved. America didn't send the first troops over to France until sometime in July. I think it was the first Big Red Division that went over. It was a makeup of both Army and Marines. The Rainbow Division had not been formed, and the University of Illinois had a National Guard unit, which had a battery of old-fashioned cannons. And they were activated and called to war. And from there, they were sent up to Chicago. And there they joined the 149th Artillery. Field Artillery Unit. And from there, they went into New York, where the Field Artillery joined in with the Rainbow Division. And from there, they shipped over to France. And in France, they had to go through training. You have to remember, this war was a war of both old and new technologies. The new technology that the battery used were 75 millimeter cannon that were developed by the French. And these cannon were rapid fire cannon with breech loading of shells. However, the old part was they were horse-drawn. The cannon and limbers were hitched up to horses, and they were dragged around by horses. The caissons were pulled by horses. So we have a feeling of modern warfare and old-fashioned warfare. After about 1 year of fighting, it ended up in a stalemate. And that stalemate was a line of trenches that went from the North Sea to 475 miles to Switzerland. And it ended up in trench warfare, which was a dirty and rotten type of war. Many soldiers died from disease. There was trench foot and so on. And this stalemate lasted. Each side tried to break down the other side. And it wasn't until the American presence in Europe that they started to make movement in the war. And this was the Americans under General Pershing, Blackjack Pershing, you've probably heard of in history. So these are the things that came about and which drew America into the war. And it started us as a powerful nation, and we were known to that. We were able to have newness in war in that submarines were now part of the fighting. Airplanes were now part of the fighting. So it turned out to be a nasty, dirty war. And so I tried to have the characters involved as they fought this war, and a war of slow movement.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. Like you said, America was a relatively young country in those years, and it was a time for it to assert its world dominance in a way, more than just being a world power, really. I think America stood out as the most influential country in the world, but thank goodness, because it helped bring the war to an end.
Yes, it did. And the problem is the war did not necessarily end. It was an armistice, and in 1939, I'm afraid it restarted again.
Exactly.
However, the human sacrifice was great. As I said, the trench line was 475 miles long. Also, the human cost was in the millions when you think in terms of civilian and American casualties. And these are probably the things that I try to cover. Over 116,000 American troops were killed in that war. And if you know about history, we only started fighting in January of 1918. The troops were in France, but they had to go through training. They had to learn what was happening in the war and how to fight the war. So in a matter of 11 months, 116,000 Americans died. Amazing. So it was a tremendous expense of human life.
Yeah. The numbers are staggering, and the toll on human life persisted, as you said, because of the gases used and so forth for decades after. You started this book in part as a connection to your father. Did you feel connected with him while you were writing it, learning about the era in which he was a young man, an era, and the sacrifices he made for his country?
Yes, it did, because as I said, I didn't get to know him. And it was through the writing of the book that I felt closer to him and got to know him better as part of me and I as part of him. His life developed after the war. He finished college and then went to dental school and became a dentist. But again, the Great Depression hit during that time, so there was a lot of stress on life and a lot of people in the 30s. Yeah. So it was something that I needed to understand his feelings. I needed to understand how he felt about the war. And I think that my study, I hit pretty close to probably who he was. Yeah. He was a good, solid person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can see that in his son, no doubt. Yeah. Tell us how your background as a flight instructor influenced your portrayal of aviation in the book.
Well, I learned to fly way back in college, and I became a flight instructor. I had my own business up until about 94, and then I flew out at Kirtland Air Force Base as a flight instructor for a number of years. It's just that it's something I love to do, and I probably thought that excuse me, my father would have enjoyed that too, being genetically tied together, one way or the other. You know, one of the things that was important that I heard on the news the other day, that the World War I Memorial in Washington, D.C. is either now open or opening this month, sometime real soon. And one thing about it that struck me was it was in tribute to the loss of nearly 4.7 million, or a tribute to the sacrifice of 4.7 million Americans who served in the Great War. And the memorial will feature a central sculpture titled "A Soldier's Journey." Well, that's what One Step from Glory is about. It is the journey of soldiers from being a civilian, moved into the military through training, and then into the battlefields as they moved around. It's interesting too, of so many animals were used to pull the wagons, to pull the artillery around. The artillery had been developed by the Germans and the French because of the animosity they had felt, basically going all the way back to the Franco-Prussian War. And on March, I think about the middle of March in 1918, the Germans opened an offensive to end the war. And they opened up on a morning with over 6,000 guns being fired. And it was a massive attack, which failed. But this was how tremendous this war was, and how it engaged so many people as they go through. The aviation industry changed immensely. America did not supply much of its arms because they had not kept up with the German, the French, and the Russian.
Hmm.
armies who were constantly developing offensive weapons. So much of the weaponry used by America was given to them by the French and the British. All aircraft were foreign made. Our airplanes were of the right flyer, where they laid out on a wing and
Yeah.
were totally unable to commit into the fighting. The only tractor, what they call a tractor style aircraft, is one where the engine's in front, was the Curtiss Jenny,
Hmm.
which many people have heard of. And after the war, there were a great surplus of them, and they were used for air shows and so on. So that's basically what all of this is about. It's about men in war and the hardships that they vision and see and come against. It involves injury and death.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing story. It's a compelling story. It's a real story. I know it's novelized, but these men represent, thousands of men who, in many cases, made the ultimate sacrifice. We need to resurrect a young Gary Cooper and a young John Wayne and a young Randolph Scott to play the lead roles in One Step from Glory, America in World War One. What do you think of that as a cast? Have you envisioned this?
It would be one of much interest, but you got to find them.
Exactly. Well, with AI, we can do anything. I'm sure they can take
That's
a
true.
data bank of John Wayne and make a composite of him when he was 25 and cast him in the movie. But the serious question there, of course, is would you like to see this on the big screen?
I think I would. I think we need to see the devastation that war brings to the land. We're still in a time where war is off in the distance, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. So we need to be prepared. America needs to be prepared as we go forward. We need to be prepared with armies that are ready to move into the field.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's frightening times what's happening around the world. We are basically at war with Iran, a proxy war in Israel. We're
Absolutely.
basically in war with Russia, a proxy war with Ukraine doing the fighting for us. So we are at war on two fronts right now. Just nobody admits it, unfortunately. So these are frightening times. We do need real life heroes. I got another guy for your movie, by the way. A young, who was I going to say? Errol Flynn, a young Errol Flynn.
Oh, okay. Well, you're going back in time, and that's back in my time.
Oh, he's still the best. All those actors are still the best. So when we get one as good in our generation, then we'll replace them, right?
Yeah, it's interesting as to how the war developed and how it ground out and finally ended up in the armistice. The armistice was interesting because on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, it ended,
Mm,
and there was silence on the battlefield. And then people started coming out of the holes in the ground, and
mm.
they started suddenly cheering, and the antagonists met in the center and greeted each other with handshakes. And that's something that's a story that they didn't want to be fighting each other.
People
And
don't hate people. Countries hate countries. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's
Politicians hate other politicians. Leaders hate other leaders. It's a wonderful book. It would be a wonderful film. The name of the book is One Step from Gloria, America in World War One. It's written by Sidney Phelps Little. It is an epic story that follows four college friends and the 149th Field Artillery Unit as they navigate the brutal battlefields of France during World War One. It's an epic story. It's a lesson in history, and it's highly entertaining, and it is highly recommended. Sydney, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Okay, just one thing. If anyone is interested, I do have a website where the book can have links to be purchased, and that's at sydneylittle.com.
sydneylittle.com. We will have that below the interview as well. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Okay, well, I thank you for listening to it.
Oh, it's a true pleasure. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time. This time, until next time, on Spotlight.